But this, I'm excited to really see what they do here with this movie. So let's go ahead and roll the beginning of this, and we may pause as we need to discuss things. There's a lot of interesting things going on here.
Citizens of America. People
Ron Swanson.
Florida Alliance.
Oh, wait, stop here. Sorry. Already stop. Rewind. Okay, two things I really like about this. Right there. Oh, man, if you could freeze frame that would be amazing. Right there.
Working on it, boss. There it is.
Look how horrible, like, the gun control is. Light's not really set up right. I'm not sure to break down, like, the CQB that they're actually doing or anything. But... somebody called out. They were like, "Yeah, that looks dumb," or whatever. I'm like, "That's how it's going to be." That's 100. It's a bunch of untrained people that don't know what they're doing, that are going to be strapped with plate carriers and stuff, and they've got the Hawaiian shirts on, so there's a little boogaloo thing going on. But anyways, go ahead.
That's your theory. I'm going to say this is AI, judging by the fingers.
It is kind of confusing, right? Like, what is that one coming down?
He literally looks like he has fingers that are on the gun and then fingers that are coming off of his fingers to branch out.
But it's definitely
fingers on fingers.
Definitely not how you want to hold a gun. But anyways, and you'll see in the next quick like split second scene, they've got Hawaiian shirts on.
Like he's ready to
definitely militia.
He's ready to shoot and flick off his enemy at the same time. Yeah.
It's kind of how you want to do it.
Multitask.
And the Western forces of Texas and California will be welcomed back to these United States as soon as their illegal secessionist government is deposed.
Looks like
you
down
don't know what
similar
side
down.
they're fighting for. Someone's trying to kill us.
Oh, it is in this.
We are trying to kill them.
Okay, hang on. Pause. Did you notice the appearance of the sniper?
Yeah.
So there's very strong ties as to what they're trying to paint, what against what. So just pay attention, right?
Yeah. And again, I don't know what they want to do with this movie. That's why I can't wait to see it. I mean, this could be some weird, like, trans activist guy, leftist, or he could be a dad and he let his daughter paint his fingernails. You know, like, oh, daddy's going to do this. And then he's like, hey, I'm forced into this now. Who knows? We don't know.
Let's keep watching.
Let's keep watching.
Comments in a minute.
It's the whistling for me.
Yeah, it does it. I can't imagine, dude, just rooftop warfare in a major city. It's like rooftop Koreans in California. Solid CQB right there.
The United States Army ramps up activity.
The White House issued warnings to the Western forces as well as the Florida Alliance.
The three-term president assures the uprising will be dealt with swiftly.
Let me know if you want to try anything on.
Are you guys aware there's like a pretty huge civil war going on all across America?
We just try to stay out.
Pause it right there. That really is going to be indicative of a lot of people. Like, there's going to be people that just don't want to be involved, right? Like, she's like, I just want to run my store or whatever, but you may not have a choice. Like, you may just want to run your store. Oh, no, I'm not for either side. And once again, that's how you get pulled into conflict, is when people start kicking open your doors. Like, the people during the Black Lives Matter riots, like, that got their entire lives destroyed, their entire livelihood destroyed. A lot of them black business owners. Like, they're not against these people that are kicking in their doors and doing stuff. Officer David Dorn shot to death outside, a black police officer shot outside of his friend's black-owned business. He was just there to help, and these rioters came in. Like, it just depends. I don't know how history is going to tell it, but a lot of these people are just going to be defending their homes and their their family, and there's going to be people just kicking open doors going in, and you're going to be stuck with a really tough choice. Oh, excuse me.
Go ahead.
It's really dry.
I have a book recommendation I'm going to make here.
Okay.
Go ahead with the trailer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With what we see on the news, seems like it's for the best.
Yeah, like
Citizens of America, the so-called Western forces of Texas and California.
did it restart? Oh no. It's just like
Just going into it.
going into it. Okay, cool.
That was interesting because I don't know if I've heard that voiceover of it being Texas and California.
Yeah, so the Texas-California line. So there's actually a map online of kind of from the trailers that they release of the states that recommend the Western Alliance, and that's what kind of I think that they're trying to be more bipartisan with the whole California and Texas alliance.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of keeps it from being like
forces of Texas and California.
What was the? I thought
it kind of makes sense if you think about it. Like, pause it.
Citizens of America.
that's what I was trying to get to.
Yeah,
Sorry.
so it does make sense because, the people in California aren't really for all of the mess that they're in.
The majority, yeah.
If they overthrew their government and they were like, look, Texas, like, we need you. Like,
Yeah, because the political thing there, the closer you get to a coast, the closer you get to a school, you see a big political divide happen.
yeah.
Typically. And I've always thought that's what's interesting about not LA. That's one of the interesting points. But in California, there's a lot of optional schools, big city, coastline, right?
Yeah.
But there's a whole lot of state.
A whole lot
That
of
is not.
farmland.
Whole lot of farmland.
It's the richest farmland almost in all of America. Like,
right.
the farmers and everybody out there are really, really upset. They're not for this. So if there was like a fictional situation like this and everybody from the surrounding areas came in and just like blocked off LA and all these places, were like, you cool, you guys eat yourself alive. We're joining up with Texas and we're like stopping the flow from the border. We're stopping like all the stuff and we're like taking our state back. I don't think a California-Texas alliances would be off the table, personally. But you'd have to overthrow the government in California. But it's not going to happen with the government.
But it also makes it very interesting for me strategically.
So here's
got a lot of desert.
Here's
between
one
there.
of the things that you really got to think about. In the possibility of there being a very overt, intentional, open conflict, domestic conflict in the United States, that some people will call civil war. There's no way it's going to be state versus state because every state is so mixed.
Yeah.
Because you have cities and country, right? So in the Civil War, there was a huge part of, brother against brother, cousin against cousin, people leaving one part to go join with another part, right? If there were another open conflict like that, it would be much harder because people aren't going to travel.
Yeah.
So you really would have no idea who the enemy is. So this whole idea of the United States military rolling through the streets of America with tanks and jets and attack helicopters, that is so far down the road of internal domestic conflict that it's almost a non-reality. Because before that would happen, you're looking at what is most likely to happen, which is complete lack of funding, support, and faith in the federal government, and a balkanization of the states.
Yeah.
So similar to what we saw in Western Russia, Eastern Europe after the fall of the Soviet Union, with the balkanization of different territories and areas, we're most likely going to fall into that kind of a scenario and that kind of reality than we would be an open domestic conflict.
I disagree a little bit. I don't disagree completely, but I disagree a little bit. I think we came very close during the Black Lives Matter riots.
Now, I'm not saying that there wouldn't be open conflict because there absolutely would, right?
Well, you were there.
Terrorism.
You were there.
Yeah.
You were there, and I was there
Yeah.
during Charlottesville.
Yeah, and
Dude, when you
the
see
possibility of that over the next 12 months is huge.
when you see
It's higher now than it was in 2020.
when you see a convoy of Bearcats rolling down the streets, it gives you that vibe. It's like,
Yeah.
oh shoot, it's about to go down.
Yeah.
And but that is very localized, and
Yes.
it's more.
That's more of a direct political action, which is still possible.
Yeah.
And still has a high probability. But as far as like an open left versus right
Yeah.
conflict, that's much more muddied water.
Yeah.
So you would see more of okay, the federal government is so corrupt, it's lost all potency, it's so out of control. We're not even sending representatives, we're not paying taxes, we're not supporting any federal agency, we're not having anything to do with the federal government. Oh, you, state, believe the same thing? We're going to align with you.
Yeah.
So one of the most telling signs that we have of the potential of that is what has happened over the border.
Yeah.
And all of the states that have rallied around Texas and have sent support and are sending National Guard troops and
Against the
funding
federal government.
that are saying no to the federal government. We're standing with states.
If the federal government in that situation, the Federal Border Patrol had said, they didn't say, hey, we're not enforcing this. If they had said, yep, lay down your arms, and Texas said no, and they said, we are going to forcibly remove your arms, and Texas said no,
Yeah.
it would be something where there's factions of the government that are split like that, and then citizens rallying behind each, almost conscripting themselves into a organized militia underneath the government,
Sure.
fighting.
Sure. The only problem is that
Which
at this
Texas would
point,
do.
The political and international gamble that would be is it's too big for any politician to take. There was no way Biden was going to do that.
That's what I said.
There's
kind of
no
from
way
the
that he was going to do that. There is no way that any ranking member of Congress, apart from squad members who are worthless, would actually advocate for that action to happen, because it would be a form of political suicide. They want to get elected the next presidential term.
Mm-hmm.
That's when things are going to get dicier, and the one after that. So moving to 2028, the financial solvency of the United States government, depending on how the next 2 years goes, is going to be a huge driving force into what the political climate is in America, what the tension climate is. It's after the election is when you really need to take a look at that.
Yep.
Now, I was brought up earlier that there is alleged, I don't know how true it is, but they're saying there is like a WEF FEMA multinational sponsored camp, the Darien Gap, which is down in Central America, that is a rallying point for immigrants coming to the United States. It's like one of their launching places. The primary demographic of individuals are military-aged males.
Yeah. We talked. We went deep on that.
It's proving to be more of a training ground, and they're getting ready to launch a huge movement of migrants towards the United States. If that's true, we've got maybe 6 to 8 months to get ready for that.
It's crazy. So one thing I would encourage, I don't know if you even went back and listened to the episode, go listen to the episode where we actually pulled up the stats with Vincent on that. How many are going, I broke down how many immigrants that means per state.
Yeah, it's a lot.
How much it costs, the average median income for the average American family versus the cost of one migrant.
Yeah.
One migrant is more. Yeah. Spoiler alert. And we broke it all down. Then I went to, these are how many people that came over that we caught that are on the terrorist watch list. How many terrorists is that per state? It broke down to be like 16 terrorists per state. It is wild.
That's only the ones we know about.
That's only the ones we know about.
And are those southern or northern border?
So go watch that episode too with that. That's part one. No, that's part two. We broke that down. But let's continue with the trailer.
Yeah, that's insane.
Florida-Texas alliance.
Sure.
Citizens of America. The so-called Western forces of Texas and California have suffered a very great defeat at the hands of the United States military.
Mr. President, do you regret the use of airstrikes against American citizens?
That's the big question. Would the military do that?
Was Atlanta.
D.C. today.
We need to go down there.
They shoot journalists on sight in the Capitol. Every instinct in me says this is death. Flooded.
Every time I survived the war zone, I thought I was sending a warning home. Don't do this. But here we are.
There's some kind of misunderstanding here. What? Well, you're American, okay? Okay. What kind of American are you?
Crazy.
You don't know?
That's wild, dude. That guy's such a good actor.
Oh my God.
Get in the car! Get in the car! Move, move, move!
You're gonna hang back.
I'm not hanging back.
One nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. God bless America.
Crazy. Yeah, so I think the big question would be, you know, and we kind of saw this with the Border Patrol, would the U.S. military actually fire on civilians? I think the answer is yes and no. It depends on how threatened they are. Again, I don't think anybody goes in the military thinking that they would do that. But the quality of soldier that we're getting now are a bunch of weak people that will be yes men and do whatever. They don't have they don't have a loyalty to really anything. That's another big thing. So one of the big scares is I was talking about oh yeah, like if people want to pass to citizenship, make them go in the army and do this stuff. But I was listening to another podcaster talk about, like, could you imagine the ramifications of all of a sudden now you have an army that is not American, that doesn't share your values? Would they fire on you if they were told to? If it meant their citizenship? Hey, we got to take our country back from these people? Yes.
The reality is it's already actually kind of there.
Yeah, well, they just introduced legislation 2 or 3 weeks ago, not up for vote or anything yet. It's just written out. But they were like, hey, if these Mexicans want a way in, go fight in the war. And at first I was like, that's a great idea. Send those guys to Ukraine. Send those guys to whatever. And now I'm thinking about, I'm like, that's a horrible idea.
No.
Yeah.
Nope. So here's another issue too. Recruiting overall is down horrendously for the United
everybody.
States military. They've eliminated the high school diploma requirement for joining the military. And I think they've taken it down to 17. They're altering the age groups for the draft. They've altered the draft for medical professionals. They did that last year.
What is
that extends the age to 51. If you could be deemed vital to ensuring the continuity of medical care, you can be drafted.
Like
paramedics, doctors, nurses.
Shoot, I thought I was safe.
Nope.
Because I was researching it before, and now I was researching it months ago, and we were like third wave.
Yeah.
Like we're already considered paramilitary, so we'd be like way down the list, but I guess not.
Yep. So that one happened. That was an executive action, I believe, sometime last year.
Perfect.
Recruitment is down. The United States military is way down, but there is still a large faction in the United States military that will not go along with woke ideologies.
But how much?
And if it's enough to make a difference.
You think? Let me ask you this:
because I think they would quit. I think they would leave. I think they would sabotage equipment, and they would hit the door.
Don't sabotage equipment. Bring it here.
Why? I don't need it.
I want it.
So
I want an MP7.
The thing that is preventing any type of unilateral military action in the United States is the Second Amendment. That's why the Second Amendment is important. We have more privately owned firearms and ammunition than all the militaries of the world combined.
Yeah. Do you think the good loyal guys that would not fire on American citizens outnumber these weak little weenie boys that are entering the U.S. military
in
now?
Skill qualification, rank, and MOS, yes.
So these guys quit. Okay, let's say you got a guy that's I'm not sure the ranking system of the whatever of the military, but let's say you got a guy that's in charge of like a platoon of little weenie boys that that are 17-year-old kids that whatever, I don't even know what they're doing.
Now remember, this guy in charge is probably only 21 or 22.
Yeah, but let's say he's not going to fire American citizens. There are 21, 22, 23-year-old guys in there that are like pro-America, pro whatever. And let's just say he's like, I'm not doing this, and I quit. Then you have this group of moldable minds that just kind of go over. So you have like a group of guys and like this one guy that's like, I'm not doing it, but these 10 guys will.
But are they going to abandon their families, their friends, their community, whatever they have at home, whatever
our
they
family
left?
structure is so degraded. Like that's the thing is like,
So that's
And that
all
may be the case,
undermined.
but that's my question each time.
But
'Cause
the thing you have to think about is combat effectiveness depends on leadership ability.
Yep.
And if the leadership is not there and it leaves a vacuum, those 10 or 12 guys are not going to be very useful.
Yeah.
Because they're not going to be able to accomplish a mission. They're not going to be able to put together a plan of any sort. They're not going to have any kind of network. And it really would just be a variable speed undoing of the United States military.
do you think that it would be more like, okay, there's less of there's more of just like the little weenie boys, and then you've got these
soy boys, call them the right thing.
Soy boys.
Yeah.
And then you've got this faction that's pretty much quit, and these are like the strong guys. So maybe one of these strong dudes that's like this pro-America, I'm not firing on military, is worth 5 of these. So even though they're outnumbered, these guys are untrained, out of shape, little soy boys, you know, and then you've got like against a solid group of dudes that are trained, that are willing to defend this country and stand up for what this country's supposed to be. And then maybe that's the balancing act.
Well, two, think about prior service guys that are now in the training industry, right?
Oh, yeah.
So you've got like Spirit Systems, GBRS Group, Warrior Post Society, like the Grand Thumbs Group, right? Onward Research.
Yeah.
Bear Solutions.
Dire Armory up there with those guys.
So you're not.
For sure.
Military. Anyway, so you've got all these guys that have been pouring into the civilian population since they got out, and they have a huge following, and they have a network.
Massive. Millions per each person.
Per each guy, right?
Millions.
So you have an automatic default underground network of people that are going to rally together. The hardest part that's going to be is organization. Yeah. That's the hardest part for the American populace to like get under control, is how are we going to organize logistics, supply chain, sustainment, all of this stuff. Like everybody gets really focused on that stuff.
Yeah.
And you leave out 96% of what makes for combat effectiveness.
Medical.
And that's a huge part of it. But with that,
buy a DIREFAK.
Who has the long-term medical sustainability to sustain any kind of guerrilla operation? Who's put in the time, research, effort, and energy to like piece together what it would take to set up? Like you can go down the rabbit hole.
Antibiotics
of call it guerrilla medicine, right?
Yeah.
Different triage points, care points, critical care points, surgery points, long-term care. Putting all of that together with supplies and a game plan of how to do that, organize it, and transport people on the lowdown. How many people have put that together?
Dude, I forgot about this. I need to have this guy. His name's Mike Reynolds. He's the former guitar player for a heavy metal band called For Today. Crazy story. Quit the band, went to Afghanistan to volunteer during these guerrilla jungle warfare things as he wasn't a paramedic. He went there with a paramedic, and the paramedic just taught him everything. It was like, this is how you do everything. So there's no licensing over there.
Right.
So it's just like, if you got the skill, you just go do it. And that's what he was doing over there. And he was telling me some crazy stories just about how to set the villagers there didn't understand the simplest concepts like direct pressure.
Yeah.
No idea. They would just sit there and be like, oh, yeah, he's going to bleed out. We got to do something. Like, that did not compute with them.
It's not any different here, David.
I know.
People don't know how to
I have
do that.
I have a story about that.
I have a lot.
So, but that would be a good person. I'm going to maybe make a note of that, Brent. We'll get Mike Reynolds, see if he'll come on the show and talk about his experience in Iraq. not as a military person, as a civilian going in to help other civilians while they are getting pushed daily by guerrilla gangs in shootouts almost every other day. And he had to go, they could probably make a movie about what he did there. He was there with some 16-year-old kid that graduated high school like at 16, went and got his paramedic immediately. He was like 18 or 19 years old, and he was like the lead paramedic there, dragging bodies away from the firing line in a tent, providing medical care. They'd never seen a tourniquet before. Yeah. And they were bringing in tourniquets, and they're like, hey, we're not dying anymore. It's like, yeah, super easy.
It's crazy because that's 96% of the American population.
Yeah. So that would be a great person to have on. Yeah, we're going to keep talking about this. This is going to be a reoccurring theme, I think, on this show because the news is changing daily. I keep saying this, like we could almost have a daily show because like the airman that burned himself alive, that happened last week. We just couldn't get to it in time, and now it's kind of old news. But it just goes to show that there are maybe some zealots out there, or he's just, in my opinion, I think he's just kind of crazy, and he was going to commit suicide anyways and decided to tack along his suicide. And
man, we don't truly understand the depths of what is brewing
on
that side of the spectrum right now.
Number
one, the striking occurrence of mental illness on the left. It's insane. So they're capable of pretty much anything, right? Just because of the depths that they'll go to prove their point and to prove that their reality must become your reality. And that's the entire MO is you will believe my reality, you will honor it, you will let me decide what is right.
Yeah. And you'll fall in line.
And you will do what I say because this is what I want you to do.
Yeah.
You can't question it. You can't argue with it.
Yeah.
Like the extent to which they will go to enforce that. Can I make my book recommendation?
Yeah, go ahead and make it. I don't know what this is, people, by the way.
If you really want to know how the leftist movement goes, it's really easy to figure it out. Study history.
Yeah.
Study history. This is a very good resource. This is volume 1. This is called the Gulag Archipelago. This is about the Soviet Revolution. First-hand accounts, right?
That's
this
cool.
Alexander Solzhenitsyn, who was a Russian soldier who got arrested and sent to the Gulag for 10 years. Came out of it and documented his history. Ended up getting banned from Russia. It was insane. So he goes through the entire thing. I'm just barely cracked into this. But the thing that made the Soviets so successful was for good men to do nothing.
Yeah.
They did nothing. No one resisted. They just went right along with it because they thought it'll just go away.
Yeah.
If ever there was a symptom in America that this thing is going to go sideways and south, it's because people will not say anything.
Yeah.
They will not disagree. They will not stand their ground. Why? Because they love their jobs and their retirements and their homes and their comfort more than they love the truth.
Yeah.
And they won't stand for truth. Like, this isn't anything crazy. And I'm not necessarily even pro-America at all. But I believe in truth. And I believe that good men should stand for truth.
Yeah.
And there's a compromise of truth in what is right and wrong. There are two genders, period.
Yeah.
You are male or you are female. Anything else is make-believe.
Yeah.
It's just true.
Yeah.
It's just true. You want to have a delusion? Fine. Go have your delusion. But don't force me to agree with it and to consent and to say that that's okay. Because it's not. There's two, period. That's it. You're born with it. I treat you based off of one of two genders.
Yeah.
That's how I take care of you. Leprechaun, unicorn, dragon boy aren't in the spectrum of treatment plans.
Yep.
Just because you think that you're a dragon boy doesn't mean you're a dragon boy.
And it hits us in the field pretty hard because it's like, okay, is patient male or female? And you change you're pregnant. How dare you? I am a two-wolf spirit. Oh, okay, cool.
Hold on.
Any chance that you are pregnant?
Just need to know if there's another being.
Just need to know. Body. Do you have the capability of becoming pregnant? And two, like when I hit you said like I'm not like a pro-America. Like I do believe it. This country really is kind of the last bastion of true freedom.
Maybe. I don't know. Have you seen Argentina and El Salvador?
Yes.
They're winning.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where it's like I'm not pro everything that America does. Just because America does it doesn't mean I'm for it. But at the same time, this country is the greatest country in the world. It is the last place that we have a fighting chance to preserve something.
Yeah. It's because of the First and Second Amendment.
Because we have these rules and laws, and right now it's not getting to the point yet. I mean, some farmers on the Texas border would argue, but it's not getting to the point where we're like taking up arms and like doing whatever, because that's what they want.
Yeah.
They need something crazy to happen. That's why you get all these weird random groups like Patriot Front that, oh, we found pipe bombs in this truck and we arrested them. Here they all are, but their faces are covered and you'll never know. Like
and
all
they
this,
go underground and get police vans to take them where they need to go.
Yeah, like
because they're FBI agents.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like they need somebody to act the fool, basically.
Yeah.
They need that one guy that's waving the Trump flag to go in with his AR-15 and do something crazy. And that's part of the tactic. It's a lose-lose, because without that aggression, they just kind of walk all over it. So they're like, hey, we're going to take this issue right up to the line, and hopefully somebody will react violently so we can say, oh, look at them.
Yeah.
But then they don't, and they're like, oh, okay. Yeah. And then they just run right over. It's a lose-lose.
Yeah.
We either lose on the issue or we fight the issue, and then we lose on that battle too. Yeah. And that's what's really causing like this really clear dividing line between everybody. And like I said, man, I'm optimistic. I think that we've had some huge wins lately. The Texas border one is a massive win.
And that's how it needs to go, because individual battles are going to be a failure every single time. But when the states as entities come together and resist the federal government, that's when you actually have impact, and that's when you actually have something that makes a difference.
Yep.
They want the individuals to come up and rise, and it's easy for any one person to go set themselves on fire in front of an embassy and make a stink. And it doesn't change anything.
No.
Like, that's the reality, is it makes zero difference. It makes zero impact on anybody's agenda. But when Texas and Louisiana and Alabama and Georgia and Missouri and Tennessee and Kentucky and all the 20-something other states, 30-something other states, however high the number got, come together and say, no,
nope,
no,